Soudain, quel étrange ardeur s'allume.
Quel faux nouveau costume.
Ta main repousse ma main.
Ta main repousse ma main.
Pendant que l'amour s'envole et nous change en ennemis.
Non, que rien ne nous sépare.
Non, rien.
Que rien ne nous sépare.
Non, rien.
Rester
When I am old and my time is come, lay me down on the soft earth, or burn me up in the heat of 1,000 suns. But let me go without rancour, and bless my head with your kindness. I have loved, I have lost, and wisdom has grown with the ages, but I am weary now and long to be at rest. I have been through the lengthy watches of the night, desiring only the light of the fairer sun, and now it is here. Do not keep me from it. Release me, in love, in peace, in memory of a life well lived. My name is Cheryl, and I'm a friend of Monica's, and I'm going to just lead us through the service today. And on behalf of the family and close friends, I want to welcome you here today to celebrate the life of Monica Campbell. At the end of this funeral service, it is, isn't it? There will be refreshments served at the back of the hall, and there will be tea and coffee provided. Please feel free to stay. And also, we've decided in lieu of flowers to have a collection for a refugee issue in honour of Monica's life, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. If you would like to contribute to that, please feel free. We're now going to hear a rendition of one of Monica's favourite pieces of music, which is Song to the Moon. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank
I sat with Monica at the Launceston General Hospital a couple of months before she died and asked her what she would like me to tell about her life at her funeral. I made 5 pages of notes at that time, but we never got to complete that conversation as her condition, cognition and memory deteriorated. I hope today to do justice to that conversation and to her life as best I can, but I acknowledge some of the things that I say may not stand up to exacting examination. That's just how it is. Some of the things I will relate to you today will surprise you, as they did me. I was a social worker, as was Monica, and that is the context in which we met. We mixed in similar circles and would occasionally get together for coffee. I got to spend a lot more time with her after her diagnosis back in May of last year, when some of us formed a support group around her, so that she would not be alone in facing what was to be ahead. It's a hard, hard privilege to do that, but privilege. Monica was born in Bonhoefel in Germany. She had a half-sister, June, who was a few years younger than herself. Her biological father was a Russian man, but he left very early in the piece, and I don't think Monica ever knew him. Her mother later married the man Monica called her father, and they moved to Britain. Monica herself characterised her early life as consisting of strengths, especially of her women forebears, sadness and loss. Her mother died a tragic death when Monica was 7.5 years old. There was little emotional support for the young Monica in particular after that. That death was, of course, the source of grief and loss for her, and remained so for the rest of her life. She was weeping when she recounted that story to me at the hospital. Sometime later, her new father began training as a teacher, and during that process learned a lot about psychology, philosophy, sociology, and the needs of children. Somewhere in all of that, the family moved to Germany to live. Monica was educated in a convent during that time, for some of that time. She remembered then living a couple of streets away from a very high wooded area where she enjoyed going for walks with the German family who cared for them. They had 2 daughters. They became her carers while her father was in the army. He had wanted some females in the picture to provide a balance. The families had known each other for a long time, and the parents of this family were like grandparents to Monica, and she recalled with fondness that they were very close. Monica remembered this grandfather well, but did not have such fond memories of his second wife, who used to send Monica to the cinema a lot to get her out of the house and away from her. However, she did remember the German daughters and being loved by them. This love was reciprocated. She remembered with great fondness daily walks in the woods amongst the big trees and forests which were carpeted with bluebells and primroses. She enjoyed picking nuts, sweet chestnuts and primroses to plant around the Nissen hut. This foraging continued throughout her life, most notably in Germany, where she loved looking for mushrooms, sorting the bad from the good, which apparently she was pretty good at. We were talking about Monica's personality, and she said that she thought her major characteristics were resilience, a survivor, hard-nosed, even surprisingly arrogant at times. This is in contrast to the memory of her colleague and later friend Karen, who said she was a very humble person. Others also had that impression of her. Monica said that she had abhorred religions that set up man-made rules which ordered people's lives or put them into categories of superiority and inferiority. This was very offensive to her. She told me that some people in life talk about religious beliefs and others put them into action. Monica had lots of time for the people who put their beliefs into action. It was indeed an irony and a blessing that one of the people who committed so much time to care for and accompany Monica during her dying was Gwen, a person of deep and sincere faith. Gwen, I know that you probably don't want me to, but I want to acknowledge here the inestimable gift you gave Monica, sleeping in that chair with your legs elevated, keeping vigil so that she did not die alone, popping home for quick breaks, showers, breakfast, watering your garden, then heading back to give again this great gift, day after day after day. I know you do not belong to the branch of the church that has saints, but I name you Saint Gwen. Monica recognised she could be a bit over the top about some things. She didn't say what kind of things, and said that she had recognised the need often to soften her stance in some instances a little bit. She could be a bit of an activist, agitating for things she believed in. For example, hassling the local council to replace the top of a water valve in the mall, hassling the water board when the council said it was their problem. This was evident in her archival emails. She was also a member of Extinction Rebellion. She cared about nature and the environment. Getting back to her childhood, Monica remembered that she was always a bit anxious when she stayed with her dad. His older sister came down and took the little girls back with her. Monica's anxiety became fear, as this aunt had rheumatic heart fever, and Monica became very fearful that if she did something naughty, it might be too much for the aunt and actually cause her death. She reckoned this made her become a goody two-shoes. Also, she attended British Army schools, and her dad was very keen to show the girls as good Germans in the context of the war with Germany at that time. What an invidious position for a child to be in. In Monica's view, she was hopeless at school, maths, races, but conversely good at sports. This is hard to believe that she was no good at school, as she went on in adulthood to complete her Bachelor of Education and a Master's degree in social work. As a child, she attended 8 schools in 10 years. Too many, too soon, she said. She often started school at halfway through the term in a new school. Surprisingly, in this situation, she remembers mixing in fairly well with other pupils and making friends easily. She said she tended always to want to keep the friends she'd made and not let them go. The many moves in her young life did become a problem for her. She had a highly developed need to just fit in. She recalled going to Northern Ireland to visit an uncle and his German wife, where she met a little girl who asked her directly, "Would you be my friend?" This was a very poignant experience for Monica. Unlike her mother and half-sister in the early days, Monica said she had no idea about fashion or colour. She preferred to climb trees in the woods, dolled up in her trackie pants instead, picking wild fruit and nuts. In her words, her mother just let me be. She had also gleaned that it was hoped that she would have been a boy. In the next phase of her life, Monica met Alan. She was working in Hanover as an accounts clerk in German and English. Alan and his friend had bought a van and travelled overland as far as Spain. Then they got to Hanover, where the friend asked Monica out on a date, but did not turn up. Alan did, and they went on a date together in Hanover to a pub, which Monica recalls was good for Alan but not so good for her, as she was not a drinker. Over a beer and a cuppa, they came up with the idea of travelling overland to Australia and began to discuss how they could make it happen. It did. Alan tells a great story about the time they decided to hitchhike to Berlin, a couple of 100 kilometres away. They had to walk 3 or 4 miles first thing in the morning to an autobahn. This involved leaving West Germany, the Berlin Wall was still in existence, through East Germany. Both of them had UK passports. They were virtually penniless at the time, and they slept in a park over the long weekend. When Monica's landlady heard about all of this, in Alan's terms, she went through the roof, because this was not done. They went to England, staying with Alan's parents, while travel papers, injections, travel visas were organised. They travelled overland from Hanover in an old Beetle to Kabul with another couple and stayed there for 3 months. In Kabul, they sold the Beetle and from Afghanistan set off in a short wheelbase Land Rover to Nepal, then Calcutta. Then, as you would, they shipped the Land Rover to Burnie, Tasmania. Alan and Monica then flew to Bangkok, took the train to Singapore and flew back to Perth. They came to Tasmania later. During this time, they not only had a son, but they had many amazing adventures, and Ian is going to speak about some of these adventures after this. The marriage between Monica and Alan did not survive, but the friendship did. Alan says they enjoyed outings together and their lives were interlinked right up to the end. He said to me recently Monica was a top lady. Monica said that she realised that Tasmania was not really the place for her. It did not really feel like home, nor did the unit where she had lived. She would have gone back to Germany if she could have done so. This was where she felt most at home, where her true roots were. In fact, those of us who were with her until the end knew that she harboured the hope that she would get there still, and to her beloved Canada, before this, her death, and wept when it was advised against by the treating oncologist. Her Canadian friend Arlene wrote, "I have lost a very dear friend. We met in British Columbia in about 2007 at a Tai Chi class, becoming easy friends, which continued after Arlene moved back to Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada." Arlene says, "Monica has a big place in my heart." And she sends her sincere condolences to Alan and Ian and to her dear friends near and far. Furthermore, another of her Canadian friends, Peggy, said, "During Monica's time in Canada, she was a member of 2 book clubs, participating by Zoom in the early pandemic period. We all valued our connection with Monica and her participation. We all missed her when she left Canada and we're hoping again to see her once again." Peggy also expresses her sincere condolences to her close friends and family. Alan liked it here in Tasmania. They spent some time as lighthouse keepers on Maxika Island. They sailed, they camped, they bushwalked, they abseiled. In terms of work, Monica worked initially as an admin assistant, then went back to education. She studied a Bachelor of Education, worked as a teacher for 4 years at Kings Meadows High School and at Georgetown teaching commercial subjects. She found it quite a challenge to manage some of the behaviours that she encountered. She decided to change career and then went on to study social work, working then for the Migrant Resource Centre for about 8 years and the LGH, both part-time. She completed a master's degree, which was a research project looking at services available to women in the migrant community following domestic violence. She also enjoyed working as a settlement worker for often traumatised people, which involved meeting at the airport, collecting goods for their use, often washing these goods at her own home so that they would be suitable. She remembered meeting really good people. It is in honour of this part of her work life and commitment, and also our knowledge that she had intended to leave a bequest in her will to a charity, that we've asked today that in lieu of flowers, donations be made. And we will make sure that gets to a charity which supports refugees. Her former colleague and later friend Jill said of her, "Every day of her life while I knew her, Monica worked at making the world a better place. Although that sounds very serious, she enjoyed a good laugh at anything, including politics, which is ridiculous. Each week she would share some of the best political cartoons with us at the Tuesday coffee group." Again, her friend Karen said, "I first met Monica as a colleague at the Migrant Resource Centre where she worked as a social worker. She was a great social worker, always empathetic with clients, very conscientious in her work and a good mate, well liked by all of us. Her scribbled pencil notes were famous, though not easy to read," she said. As Monica was born in Germany, she and Karen had something in common, their German roots, and often went together to German brunch meetings where Monica enjoyed talking in German with the folk there. She was always interested in environmental and political issues discussed at these events, which she hardly ever missed. She liked reading, music, going to the film society, as well as the more active pursuits already mentioned. She could be outspoken when necessary, making her point if she felt she needed to. She never put herself out front, never dominated, but rather preferred to remain in the background. She did involve herself in some of the protests around town, the Roe versus Wade ruling, women's rights, the upcoming referendum for the voice to Parliament, equality in general. She said she disapproved of monks who believed they were better than nuns. She disapproved of the veiling of women in other cultures and of having morality police. She lived in other countries in her adult life, Germany and Canada, which she really loved. Nick and I met her in Vancouver when we were lucky enough to travel to Canada, and we enjoyed a great day with her, wandering around a Japanese or Chinese garden, I can't remember which, and then found a pub afterwards to have a meal together. Monica's last journey began when she collapsed at the Film Society in May of last year. In typical Monica style, she said to me later she was so grateful that she had managed to park the car safely and not cause harm to other people before collapsing. After a biopsy and some debulking in Hobart, she was diagnosed with more than one very aggressive brain tumour. She then went on to a raft of chemotherapy, radiation, hope and hope stashed, though it's fair to say she was offered no real hope from the beginning. She started reading about death very early on, I think even from that first visit to A&E in Launceston, where she read Atul Gawande's wonderful book on being mortal. Our support group surrounded her as her growing needs became obvious and just accompanied her on this hard journey. She said to me on more than one occasion, "All of my life I have pushed people away, and now I'm surrounded by so much love and support." She was weeping when she said those words. For me, this is a big lesson from her life. Don't push people away. Be grateful for love and support when it's offered, and give it. She had lived a life characterised by loss, change and more loss. Nevertheless, she committed her professional and personal life to helping other people. She remained concerned for others throughout, despite the enormity of her own illness. She expressed concern for my own family drama happening at the time, even during her low times. I was touched and amazed. I want to read an email from her friend from Canada, Mary Harding. She says, "Monica stayed with me the last time she perched herself in New Westminster, Canada. Her intended visit with me was stretched from 1 to 9 months as Immigration Canada tested her resolve to restore her permanent residency status. I had time to get to know Monica and appreciate her kindness and care for the world and all its inhabitants. I thought I might have heard from her in October, our usual time of the year for communication, and when I did not, I imagined her travelling to her people in Germany. I imagined her enjoying the many sweet chocolate cakes. I was shocked to hear your news and the true reason for not having heard from her. I would like to pass my condolences to her family in Australia and say that Monica will remain lodged in my heart and memory throughout the remainder of my journey in this world. Vale, Monica, we will all miss you in our own way. You had some huge difficulties to face in your life, but you still managed to find pleasure in humour, the environment, bushwalking, sailing, climbing mountains, abseiling, literature, films, music, travel, hard, diligent work and relationships. What else is there?" Monica's friend Nicole has asked me if she could come up and say a few words about her experience of Monica. And after that, I'm going to invite Monica's son Ian to not... Okay. Nicole, would you like to come?
To my mate Monica, last time I see you, you're not in hospital. You made me feel sad. Now you're not in peace. I miss you lots. Where some people in the years will remember Monica to clean the driveway, and every time I walk past my car, we always say hello each other. You made me sad. I miss Monica lots. Now, every time I see her, today I see a butterfly. I know Monica always with me. And then every time the blackout, I light a candle for Monica, and when I wrote the candle out, I still remember her lovely face. Every time I look out the window where I live, Monica always helped people who need friends or family or wherever need help. Take care, Monica. Mate, we miss you every day, or till we're together.
Thank you, Nicole. We're here today to say goodbye to Monica. And as part of this, a little ritual is going to be observed if you would like to participate in it, and that is the placing of leaves and petals on Monica's coffin. And if you'd like to stand by the coffin as you do that for a moment and think whatever thoughts are yours, please feel free to do so. Thank you.
Thank you for all of that. Oh, sorry, I'm not used to these things. Thank you for all of that. There's quite a bit in that I didn't know. What can I say about the loveliest lady? I'm sorry. Thank you all for being here and being her friend. And thank you for that eulogy. That was absolutely lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming.
We now commit Monica's body to be returned to the earth by way of cremation, and after that, to respect her wishes that some of her ashes be returned to her beloved Germany and to Canada. On behalf of Monica's family and close friends, I want to thank you for coming today. I remind you about the refreshments and about donations. If you do want to make a donation, you haven't got cash, talk to me. Let us go back into our lives without Monica in it, remembering her in our own way, and remember the lessons from her life. Release me to the earth, to my eternal rest. All that I am, I give to you. Remember me, my friends. Release me to the sky, to fly to light and free. So light and free. All struggles past, all fears now gone. Be glad for me, my friends. Release me to the trees, to ever-flowing streams, for here my spirit will live on. Find joy in life, my friends. Release me through your tears, to horizons yet unknown. I'll always be a part of you. Take courage now, my friends. Release me in your love. Let memories never die. My earthly walk is over. Be at peace, my friends. I ask you to stand as Monica's coffin will be taken through this room and outside to the awaiting hearse.